Are we supposed to mute our audio?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt.
Oh, Amanda,
Hello.
how are you tonight?
Not too bad. How are you?
All right.
So I have to wonder, like, positionally, are we all seeing the same thing? For me, Amanda's in the upper left. If I want to talk to Tom, I need to kind of go like this. And if I'm talking to Eric, I would look like this.
Nope, Amanda's in the middle top for me. I'm on the left, you're on the right top. Eric is in the second row on the left.
Kind of takes the fun out of it. It's like we could be, you know,
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's how you sign in or what.
Oh, Tom's talking. Chief, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Alderman?
Apparently not as good as you if you're out west.
They say you long time.
Thank you for finding the time to break from your vacation to join us at F&P.
Yeah, it's amazing the cell service out in the canyon.
Well, I like Troy's background. That's pretty nice too, Troy.
Yeah, thank you. That's from the office. I'm always working. You know how that is.
Oh, there you go. That's not a big fire, is it?
No, gosh, I hope not.
Say, Fred, you had mentioned there were a couple other items. Is that going straight to council next week? Because I didn't see an amended agenda.
Yep.
So
Straight
it'll
to
be a
council.
non-consent item?
Pardon me?
So it'll be non-consent, so we talk about it automatically?
At the common council, yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to be watching from the sidelines if you need me.
Hello, Mayor.
Hello, Mayor.
Do we know if, is Jim Olson going to be able to call in or, I mean. I
I'm
guess
pretty
we should
sure
run a minute or two.
I touched base with him and he was going to call in.
Okay.
Jim, is that you on the line?
Yes.
I was
Yes,
like,
I'm
that
here.
386 number looks like his number.
Oh, yeah, maybe I'm getting it for free.
All right, should we start or
Yep.
we want to? Okay, thank you everyone for coming to the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. Today is May 6, 2020. Notice has been duly posted at City Hall. Item number 1, call to order, and I guess not order, roll call. So Alder Jim Olson,
Present.
Alder Diane Wolf,
Here.
myself, Dan Stevens, I'm also present. Joining us, we have City Attorney Amanda Jackson. We have City Administrator Eric Reinflesh. Alder Tom Smith is with us. Chief Ashbeck. HR's Hope Burchell. Acting Chief Troy Goody. We have Fred Bueller from Finance. Carrie Burmaster, our City Clerk. Dan Wick from Parks and Rec. And I do believe that covers that. So item number 2, approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alder Olson, second by Alder Wolf to approve the meeting. The previous meeting, are there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from the previous meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Item 3, public input. Does anybody wish to provide public input? All right, I assume that we've made this available to the public. Second call for public input. Anybody wishing to address the F&P committee may do so. Third and final call for public input. Hearing no public input is now closed. Consideration and possible action on the following items. Under item 4, the 2020 Omni Center financials. Mr. Bueller.
Okay, in your packet, on the back side of page 2 of 2, and so right on the back side of the first page, there's a little footnote on the bottom. That is what the Omni Center would receive in January and February as far as room tax dollars from the Tourism Committee. So when you take the 11,000 off the 44,000 deficit, you roughly have about a 32,000 deficit. And that's pretty much all I have. That also in the next page in revenues, towards the bottom where you see an out of operating transfer in, that operating transfer in consists of dollars coming from the Special Projects Fund for first quarter.
Mhm.
Any questions?
So Fred, what is this going to mean for us in the big picture for the rest of the year? I mean, we're going to have to accommodate this or account for this somehow. How do you see us getting through this challenge?
Well, I guess I'm gonna let Dan speak to it first, since he's on the line.
Lucky Mr. Wick.
Well, you know, unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball to find out when we're going to be able to open the facility up. We continue to book more events, rebook events that have been canceled due to the fact that when the Sense of Building has been closed with the Safer at Home Act is underway. So, you know, am I going to, you know, sugarcoat something and say, you know what, we're going to have a profit at the end of the year? No. But I think as we look at, as our revenues being down, our expenses are going to be down also. We have no seasonal staff working, just our full-time staff working. Our utilities, because of the fact our chillers aren't running and things like that, are less than what they have been in the past also. So we haven't seen the real effect of this, understanding that the room tax has shrunk considerably also. That also will have an effect on the Omni Center budget here. So I think we need to monitor this, but I think it's really this financial statement's pretty early until we can kind of see the big picture when we possibly can get back started and get back open.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the 2020 Omni Center financials? What is the pleasure of the committee?
We'll make a motion to accept the financials for the Omni Center.
Second.
Motion by Alder Olson, second by Alder Wolf to accept the 2020 Omni Center financials. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Financials are accepted. Item number 5, the 2020 general fund financials. Again,
Okay,
to you.
that's item F5 on your packet of information. If you go to about 3 pages in, it's page 1 of 16, which is the revenues for the general fund. This is roughly, contains roughly 4 months of revenue, which is roughly 33% received and approximately 66 remaining on the general scheme of things. With that said, there's a line item down about halfway down, state aid road allotment. We anticipate getting 860,000. How the state aid works is they send you quarterly, so we have half the year already given to us from the state. So that's where it shows about a 49.92%. With that said, I don't have any cable TV coming in yet because they pay someone on a quarterly basis, and the payment came in after the financial was run. So I don't have anything more in the revenues on that page, and I don't have any questions on any other revenues. I can say the interest income on the page 2 of 16 is pretty close to being what we anticipated. From the expenditure standpoint, starting on page 3 of 16, starting off with Common Council, is the bills in the month of March are paid in April. So this represents roughly 3 months or 25% paid, roughly 75% remaining. 75% is kind of just a general, how should I say, percentage of where departments may be at. With that said, I don't see anything. Like I say, it's pretty early in the stage of the game for any departmental breakdown, unless you have any questions on the expenditures for the general fund. I don't.
Okay.
Jim or Diane?
No, nothing
I'm
from
good.
me.
All right, so what would we like to do?
I will move to approve the 2020 general fund financials.
Second.
Motion by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Olson to approve the 2020 general fund financials. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Financials are accepted. Item 6, the Gunderson Health System parking rent financial for Q1 2020.
Okay, the City of Onalaska, that's F6 on your item. We receive each quarter a report from Gunderson Lutheran as far as where they stand as far as operation of the parking ramp. The City of Onalaska, through the bond issue, is required to pay $1,250 quarterly, $5,000 for a total during the year. Other than that, it's nothing unusual, pretty straightforward. We already received on March 15th, approximately each year, the Gunderson Lutheran is required to pay the City of Onalaska the differential of what the taxes were last year compared to what the original cash flow performer showed. And that payment was in roughly an amount of about $14,000, which the City of Onalaska has received on or about or before the 15th of March. So other than that, I don't have a whole lot unless you have any questions for me.
Nothing from me.
Nope.
We have none?
Nope.
Said, what is our pleasure?
I move to approve the Gunderson Health System parking ramp financials for the first quarter 2020.
Second.
Motion by Alder Wolf, second by Alder Olson to accept and approve the Gunderson Health System parking ramp financials for first quarter 2020. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Financials are accepted. Item 7, collection on individual fines deemed uncollectible.
At this point, I'd like to turn this one over to our city attorney, Amanda Jackson, to kind of talk about this topic.
So this topic came up because we have an individual in municipal court who had fines dating back to 2007. This individual owes the city of Onalaska around $10,000. The individual is currently in prison, has been there for several years, and will be there for a few more years. The way the state debt collection is set up is that if an individual goes to prison, the state deems them uncollectible. And that's a designation that lasts regardless of whether they stay in prison or they are released from prison and go on to lead a normal life in which the city or any entity that they owe money to could potentially collect from them. And so the city is left in this position where our normal avenue of collection through the state is unavailable. And so if we want to retain the right to continue to collect on an individual in the future, under statute, we have to continue to make collection effort on a regular basis. And so we're just looking for some guidance if it makes sense in these situations where we think there's a high probability that the debt will not be collectible. If we want to expend the time, effort, postage to continue to make collection attempts without really any real certainty of being able to collect in the future.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, this is more of a, are we looking at this as writing it off of kind of like the balance sheet, meaning that we could still collect it if we want to, we're just not claiming it as an asset? Or are we saying that we don't think we're really ever going to get this even 5-10 years from now, and we never want to deal with it again?
Correct.
Okay, so I know what my feelings are, but we'll see what the other members say first.
If I could make a quick statement, just for information's sake, is the city of Onalaska each year, and roughly in February of this past year, I took the finance and personnel and on the council to purge any outstanding debt from 12/31/13 on back. We purged it off from a dollar value, but we still have it on record that they may be paying. Now, with that said, Amanda, how much of this is prior to 2013, 12/31/13?
All of this.
Okay, so technically it's already off the books, to answer your question, Dan.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, my understanding of, I assume that we're have to adhere to the Fair Debt Collection Act, but for there to be normal collection activity, I think we only have to make like one documented collection attempt per year. Is that, do we really want to give that up? I mean, we just send an email off or one letter once a year, document it, and perhaps at some point in the future, the guy gets out of prison, has a moment where they decide they're going to get their act together, and we might be able to collect something.
When they're in prison, it's not so hard because we have their address and we could send that letter to the prison. But then we would, as staff, have to keep tabs on them once they're released from prison. So we'd have to calendar their prison release date, make sure that they were actually released from prison, and then we'd have to track down a future address or a way to kind of track them to keep that collection effort moving forward. And then once we find them, we either likely, because we don't do a lot of collection internally short of sending that demand letter, would then either need to probably turn it over to a collection agency at that point, because the state won't take them back for state debt collection purposes once they're deemed uncollectible, which is part of our dilemma. So we would have to look at putting a whole new system in place for these individuals, of which there's kind of a handful that end up in this situation.
No, I understand that it takes work and effort, and there's other things that we could be doing. I'm just not sure that we want to give up that right when we can potentially recover something later. If it did, I know state collections would not take it back. How is there a reason why we wouldn't want to turn it over to a different third-party collector? And even if we were to sell a $10,000 debt, if we can get 5 cents on the dollar to buy the debt, or they take it on contingency, I think we can kind of pass the burden on to a collector and still retain the ability to potentially collect something. And I'm just not sure that it's in the city's interest to give that away. I understand that it would take some time, but I think we only have to send a letter to the last known address or the last address on record to comply with, the spirit of the law. That's my thoughts. I'm only one of 3, but I don't like letting old collections go, as it comes with my industry. So
I'll turn the collection question over to Fred. I don't know if we have that in place at this moment. I know we have used collection agencies in the past. However, when state debt collection became available, it was a better option for us.
I know if I recall, and I don't want to be quoted, but when we had an agency prior to going with the state debt collection, I believe they were taking 20 to 30% of the dollars they kept of any outstanding debt. And I can tell you that when we had compared to where we are today, when we did have a collection agency, the return on the dollars from the agency did not pay for, so it was a no-brainer for the city of Unalaska just to remove the collection agency from their responsibilities and slide the debt to the state debt collection, where we've collected considerably more dollars than we would have ever collected from prior years from the agency itself, of which, by the way, back then we bid it out to different agencies, and the one that was awarded, they were aggressive, but we're doing far much better at the state debt collection.
Well, is there any reason we can't use both? Like have state debt collection be the primary, and then
I see that
the harder to collect ones would then go to the secondary in the event that state debt collections did not want to take the file back.
Yeah. Well, it's something we can check out. I'm not sure you're going to get an agency with individuals of this sort to want to buy any of these accounts, but there's nothing wrong with checking.
Alder Wolf.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Fred. If he was incarcerated, it might be a different situation, but since he's there, I don't know. I don't think you get anybody to bite on that, but you can check it out if you want to.
Diane, did you go ahead?
Yes, thank you. I would have is who would be responsible, like Amanda had mentioned, I'd want to know who would be responsible for calendaring this and following up on this, and what staff would be responsible for this.
I can answer that for you, as back here a year or two ago, or probably about 3 years ago or so, the Common Council made it very clear that from the time citations are issued, after X amount of days, which is a very small window, it's the finance and personnel, or the finance department, that takes over the debt through the debt collection agency, through TRIP or the state debt collection agency. So it's the finance department that administers it thereafter to death do us part.
I think part of the problem, though, is, for example, this debt is now 13 years old. And I don't know that we have met the burden of making the once a year mailings, given the condition of the municipal court office prior to finance taking over the debt. So we do have some of these out there where likely we wouldn't necessarily have met that
Criteria.
criteria.
So are we saying, this agenda item, are we talking about this one particular individual or overall philosophy on this?
Overall, this was just kind of a recent example, but I think we'd just like to set a practice moving forward.
How many accounts are we talking about dead filing here? Was it just this one?
Well, this one, I don't know that we could, just because of the fact that we weren't aware of the account until recently, and so it's been sitting for years without any collection efforts. I can have Hildy see if she can pull up a spreadsheet to see how many of these we have. If we want to continue it to the next meeting.
Alder Wolf?
Thank you. Could I have Eric weigh in on this item, please? What his thoughts are?
It's a little different, and Fred already covered a little bit on debts that are beyond 7 years anyway. But generally, I mean, debts that would become non-collectible, my preference is to write them off. Is there a possibility of something out in the future? To me, it becomes the comparison of the effort to gain it versus the return on that. Again, the particular case I think is we'll have to do it anyway, just as Amanda pointed out that it probably hasn't met the burden over time. But those that remain collectible, I would suggest that we continue to use the systems that we are through state debt collection and what have you. But no one likes to write off possible collections of debt, especially something owed to us. But for finance purposes, once it's past 7 years, I'd recommend writing them off anyway.
Thank you.
Right. Well, do we want to make a decision here, or do we want further discussion?
I will make.
No, I don't.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, that's okay, Diane. Go ahead. That's fine.
Well, I was going to make a motion that we refer this to the June F&P meeting for further discussion and ask that Hildy or someone provide, so we have a better idea of how many, more criteria, a little bit more background, how many, the number that we're looking at and the amounts. That would be my motion to refer this item to the June F&P meeting.
So what, Diane, if we do that, what are we looking for that we don't have now for information?
I could probably answer that for you, Jim. Is what we'll find out is, let's say, for example, in this case, the individual has been in jail for quite some time. We weren't aware of the situation where when an individual's in jail, there has to be annual notices being sent. So that criteria has not been met. And we can find out how many other individuals meet the same criteria as this one individual.
Right. So what we're looking at is what is the total potential that we would charge off essentially and not be able to collect. So notwithstanding this one particular account. That's.
And I'm not one to refer something to a further month. You will typically never hear me refer something, but this is one case in point. I think if we're going to, I feel comfortable referring this for one more month just to get a little bit more information. So.
Okay. Well, is that a motion?
Yes, that was my motion.
Okay, second.
All right. Motion by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Olson to refer to the June F&P committee for item number 7 as printed on the agenda. Any further discussion? Amanda.
So just because I'm going to probably end up conveying this to Hildy, we would like to know the number of individuals that have been deemed uncollectible by the state debt collection and the amount of debts owed.
Yes, that. I'm not sure if there's other info that if it's readily available. If it's readily available, like how many might exceed the year threshold of where they're not collectible, even if we decided that we wanted to. If that information is not available, then we'll just have to deal with that. But specifically the number of accounts and the balances that we are looking at charging off. All right, any other questions? All those in favor of supporting the referral to next month's meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 7 is referred. Turning the page, we are now to item number 8 in personnel. So we're looking for an update from Police Chief on the body camera grant program. Chief.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Stevens. Essentially, I wanted to bring to the committee an update in regards to the body camera grant. And I know probably most or all of you are not aware of the grant to begin with. So essentially, just a short history, it was my intention through the planning of the 2021 budget and capital projects, I was going to bring forward my plan or proposal to implement a body camera program for our department next year. And in between last month's F&P and council and now today, I was notified by the City of La Crosse Police Department of their intention to apply for a body camera grant that the federal government has put out. And they were looking to have other agencies in the county join under the auspice of the more departments that are on a unified program, creates efficiencies for everyone, including the district attorney's office, which is our biggest requester of records. Probably daily, we get requests from them for squad video reports, body camera, footage for those departments that have body cameras and whatnot. So when that came forward, I was very interested in it because, of course, I was already interested in trying to bring body cameras to the department, and this grant is a 50% match. And so to me, it would only make sense to try to become part of that and get awarded that to save essentially 50% of what I was going to be bringing forward anyway. And I unfortunately didn't have time in between the prior meetings and today. I did speak with some staff and with the mayor when we met, and they felt that was important. I just bring it forward tonight to make you aware. The deadline was yesterday to get the grant submitted. So the City of La Crosse was the writer of it. Essentially, we just had to, it was non-committal in the sense that we did not commit any finances. It was just we agreed to be named in the grant so that the City of La Crosse essentially had permission to use Onalaska and the other agencies that wanted to join in as part of the grant. But we still have the opportunity, if we are awarded, I know that this would have to come forward through the budget process and may or may not be approved at that time. And that is perfectly acceptable. But we had to make a decision before yesterday in order to be part of this or not. So that's where it's at right now. So I would open up to any questions or anything from the committee.
How long is the grant process? When will you know if it's successful or not?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't have a complete copy of the grant. Assistant Chief Abraham was the writer, and we're still waiting on those details. I would assume it would be sometime probably in the next 2 to 3 months. By the time they evaluate, I mean, this is across the entire country, I would imagine, our agencies submitting, so there's probably going to be thousands of entries. So it'll take some time.
How would the body camera footage be managed? Is that, if you do that joint with La Crosse and other communities, Is there one central place where that is, or do we still retain our own visual data?
Yeah, what's nice is essentially it's cloud-based, cloud storage, and it's all individual, you know, two on Alaska or two lacrosse. We all have our own unique logins, so we only see our data, and then we can share it with who we want, like the district attorney's office. They would have their own login, and then they could then access all of that video that they would normally go through us, and then my staff would have to take time to find it, download it, send it to them. As now, they could just log in, download it, view it, whatever they need to do. It would shave off a huge amount of time for us, but no other agency or entity would have access, only to those that we give access, like the DA's office.
Great.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for the chief?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, sounds promising. So moving on, item 9, the update from Human Resources on staff vacancies. There's Bill.
I'm here.
You're down there.
Well, I'm at the top on my screen, so it just depends on where you're looking. But I just put together a memo. It just helps me keep track of what we had from last month to this month. There's a lot of changes going on. So with the fire chief giving his resignation, Police and Fire Commission approved a timeline. So that position has been posted, and we've got it in several locations. It's also advertised on the International Fire Chief Association website. So that's posted there as well. So far I've gotten a few applications, so the Police and Fire Commission will start to be able to review those. The city clerk position, with Carrie's announcement that she's going to retire, we're hoping to start this process soon. So with that process, we also have that on the agenda later as well. We're looking to fill that position for 2 weeks, and then have that open to the public. And if that were to be filled internally, then post it for the deputy city clerk. And because there's a very short period of time to try to get training and things like that, we're pushing forward on trying to move that position forward as fast as possible, with trying to get the most qualified candidate. Police department openings, as I said last time, last month we had to postpone some of the testing. Basically the TC positions, they have opened all the testing back up, so we've got dates set up to do that. So we are still down an officer, but we've got a written exam and physical agility testing set up for May 22nd. And then hopefully, depending on how the recruitment goes and how things are looking budget-wise, we'll discuss that maybe in June. And then the fire department, we are still down 2 officers, or for firefighters, and we've made contingent offers to 2 people. So Tim is helping us out by working on the background. So we appreciate the police department lending us his services to do that. So he's working diligently on that. And then we also have our still our administrative assistant paralegal position is kind of held in flux, just because at least until we can get staff that can train, we can't really hire somebody. So that makes that challenging. So that position's still being held off yet. We did hire Lisa Schmidt from finance department into the inspection department upstairs. So we have now posted and advertised for the finance department position downstairs. So while it was great that we didn't have to do a whole lot of background checks and things like that upstairs, we still got to do that process downstairs. And And so that position's opened up, and then we're looking to see applications for that. But other than that, building inspector Mac has given his notice of retirement. He does not want any fanfare or anything, so it's confidential. So basically GEC is going to be taking care of the plumbing and general heating inspections at this point in time. So that's kind of what we have right now, and until we can open up a lot of our parks and rec programs, seasonal staffing is kind of hit and miss. Typically right now, Amy and I are up to our eyeballs with seasonal recruiting, and so it's a little bit quieter than normal, at least on that aspect, but we would normally see that a lot higher. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of the advertising and things, but basically I'm doing the memo for me because otherwise I think I wouldn't remember what I had from last month to this month, just because there's a lot of changes going on.
Well, Hope, I would like to say that I know last year we liked having at the very least kind of a verbal update on what was going on, and what you've produced here is, I'm glad it works for you, but this is far exceeded what we were looking for. It's professional, it's comprehensive, and there really can be no complaints. So I want to thank you for providing this to us. It's useful. We appreciate it. I feel like I know now what's going on with staff vacancies, and well done.
Thank you. Like I said, it's keeping me so I know what's going on from month to month. So.
And if I could add too, is that I agree with Dan, the verbal worked great. I think with us not being able to meet in person now, I'm guessing that this more written form, like you said, probably helps you also, but I think it's something nice that now I can put in my file and kind of keep track, and kind of a tickler file, so I can, because I like, for myself, I like to reach out to Lisa Schmidt and congratulate her. Glad to know that she's still staying within the city. She's just moving upstairs. And, but since we are meeting remotely, I think it just helps with the communication to know more what's going on. So I really appreciate it. So, but very, very nicely done. And it also, for me, it also shows there's a lot of activity in HR. So,
Sure.
Yes. So thank you. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks, Hope.
Sure, you're very to the point. Okay. Moving on to item 10, review and consideration of authorization to replace, post, and advertise the city clerk position, if promoted within the department, a deputy city clerk position.
And so,
Carrie or a Hope? What a Hope.
well, as I said in the update, what we're looking at doing is similar to what we've done when we've done promotions, like in the police department and fire department, when we've had like a sergeant or lieutenant position open. If we fill the position internally, then we want the opportunity to obviously fill a patrol officer or firefighter. And so we do have, I believe, a qualified candidate internally, but we are going to post this externally. I do think that posting it for at least a couple weeks, on the city clerks, I think they have a site, or at least they can have a area where I can have it sent to multiple clerks in the area and throughout the state that might be interested in it, that we would get some applicants apply and then have it be a competitive process, and then may the best person win. But if it does happen to be our internal candidate, that we'd at least want to be able to have that ability to move forward, so it's not holding our process behind and then waiting potentially another month to do this, so that we're not holding back opportunities for training, so that we can still have that opportunity for the new individual potentially, if that were to happen. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And Eric, and I think, can speak on that too, or Carrie.
how long, you mentioned a couple of weeks, how long do we typically hold a position open for applicants when posted?
It just depends. Sometimes we with our department heads, like with the fire chief, we're doing it open till filled. It depends on what we get for qualified applicants. In this particular situation, we know that we have at least a qualified applicant internally. We don't know what the external market's going to look like for city clerk, just because I think it is a unique position. And when I looked in the League of Municipalities, I saw that the city of Toma's city clerk retired. So we might be seeing a lot of that. So if we don't get enough qualified applicants to apply, we'll have to address that at that time, but I think we'll have some applicants apply.
Alder Wolf.
Thank you, sir. So do you think 2 weeks is adequate to post?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further discussion?
I will make the motion to approve item number 10 to review and, to authorize to replace, post, and advertise the city clerk position and if promoted within the department to move forward with the deputy city clerk position. And I will reserve my time. Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Alder Wolf, second by Alder Olson to authorize the replacement, posting, and advertising of the city clerk position, and if promoted from within the department, the deputy city clerk position. And Diane, you had more to say?
Yes, thank you. I think it's good for the city to go ahead and post, and I agree with HR to go ahead and whoever rises to the top should be the person. I do have full confidence in who we have excuse me, currently in the positions, but I think it's the proper thing to do, and I think I just think it's good, a good all-around policy to have in place. Secondly, I think that we need to continue, if the deputy city clerk position were to get the city clerk position, we need to make sure that HR has the ability to go ahead and keep moving forward so we do not slow down the process. I know we have a limited window here, and we need to keep moving forward. So, and I just also want to thank Carrie for her many years of service. We came on about the same time, and so appreciate everything that you have been doing for the city and have continued to do for the city. And congratulations also on your announcement today. So thank you.
Thank you.
That was big news. I guess my thought, and I agree, I from my understanding, the internal candidate is certainly qualified. I'm maybe a little iffy on the 2 weeks. Seems like it's a narrow time frame, and I think maybe to avoid to keep with being fully transparent, I would almost feel comfortable if we stretched it out to a 3-week period, but I'm not sure what sort of impact that has on the upcoming, on Carrie's retirement and the ability to fill and train the position. So is there a problem if we have a longer period of time? Carrie?
I would just like to say that I think that the 2 weeks would be adequate. I think we're kind of in a unique kind of a situation right now, you know, with maybe people are more at home looking at things like this, where I think, you know, a lot of times where people are so busy and stuff, they're not going to see those types of applications. I think we got a lot of people out there looking. I feel surely that we'll have some candidates that will apply. So I think 2 weeks would be adequate in the situation, because we're not doing like a national search or anything. You know, we're looking for somebody that's probably going to be local, or at least probably, you know, within the state, within a radius anyway.
Okay. Anybody else? We have a motion on the floor. All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Again, congratulations, Carrie, and hope
Thank
you
you.
get to work on that one, I guess.
Let's gotta go through council first.
All right, what are we on, number 11? No, yes, so review and consideration of the approval of the job description for the city clerk.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jen, second by Diane to approve the job description changes to the city clerk. Any discussion?
Good. I would ask Hope to give a quick little overview if she would, please.
Yeah, and so some of the changes, as I've been kind of talking about before, is just updating some of the essential functions. And I had actually, Carrie put them in more of an order of their relative importance. But just kind of updating some of the information to ensure that they are really what we're doing in the position. This position initially did payroll, and so we're really not looking for this position to do payroll anymore. So we removed some of that language out of there. And then just kind of updating some of the office programs, such as like Word and Outlook, and then looking at election software as well. And then with the training and experience, because there's not going to be a payroll aspect to it, we don't really need to have somebody with necessarily an accounting background, but records management, paralegal, and then election, and then the Wisconsin certified clerk or professional clerk certifications. So we have a preference for the Wisconsin professional clerk. You have to have, I think, 8 years, I think you said, Carrie, for that. But I think at least the Wisconsin certified clerk, they have to have at least 3 years in order to have that completed. And that's what we're looking at, is somebody with at least 5 years of election and municipal experience. And then putting the physical requirements, and I didn't do all of the funky changes in there because I think it makes it difficult for you guys to read. But I just put it in that new format.
So to summarize, it's essentially more city clerk centric, and it removes some of the finance aspects.
Correct. It removes some of that payroll function that Carrie had been doing before, that I think she just happened to have a niche for, and she'd had previous experience with. And seeing how that's kind of moved out of that area anyway, and we're not looking at putting that back, so there's no reason to have that in there.
All right. Anybody else want to weigh in? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the job description change, please say aye.
Aye.
Job description change has been approved. Item 12, review and consideration of changes to policy 6.08 regarding employee attire. I don't know who gets this one. Hope? You.
Yep. So we had been kind of talking about, business casual is kind of going to like a smart business casual or smart casual or smart business. And so just using some different terminology, but it's looking more, and as you can see, because we're working from home and then we're also having people with City Hall closed, we've kind of just had, jeans, that we've had jeans day basically forever, for a while, but professional dress, so that people still need to look professional. They still need to look nice. And so we wanted to update, I think, our policy with the smarter business casual dress. Leggings are kind of back in style again, and they look very professional. And I think to add those kind of back in there. And as long as people wear jeans that are in good repair and they're wearing them, you can still dress them up with blazers and other types of clothing that still makes them look professional. That we felt that still would be in with that smart or business casual. And so trying to just kind of update some of our policy with our business casual. And then just changing our casual Friday to, instead of saying it's like jeans day, it's just casual Friday. And that's kind of what we utilize a lot of the times when we have our dress, like Halloween dress, or we might have the dress up sweater day or something like that for around the holidays. So just kind of do some of that. We did add accessories for jewelry, accessories, and tattoo policy. Because there might be people that still want to maybe utilize scarves or things like that to cover their mouths, or are still having concerns about COVID or other types of contagious diseases. So we just felt like as long as it looked professional, that we really didn't want to prohibit that. So we added that accessories in there. So, and I think just clarifying that instead of human resources or the department head will make a determination, it'll be, well, we'll decide whether an employee will have to go home and change, or or do they meet the city requirements. So I think just some clarifications and then just some slight modifications to the policy. So
All right, I actually had a few questions. So first, now bear in mind that I've never been known as a fashion icon, but I've never heard of the term smart casual before. Could you define that?
it's kind of a newer term that's coming out, and it's really, and maybe Amanda or Eric can come up with a better term. I'm not really good with fashion either, but it's kind of like a business casual, but it's kind of like a dressy, where you can wear like nice jeans, nice casual tennis shoes or dress shoes that still look nice, and wear a blazer and still have it look professional. It's not, super baggy, or it doesn't look, they're not like super baggy, or they don't have rips and holes in it, but it's still professional dress. So maybe Amanda can address it.
I think the best way to describe it would be, think if you're going out to like a nice dinner and you dress up a little bit, but you don't get like super dressed up. Like you're wearing a nice pair of jeans, nice shoes, your button down dress shirt, and maybe a blazer. So you could wear that then to work. Or, for a woman, it might be a dress shirt, a blazer, and a nice pair of jeans. So it's incorporating professional elements with a little bit more casual bottoms in a way that still looks professional.
Eric.
I think to a large degree it reflects sort of the common practice of what employees are wearing right now. Anyway, we've been probably a different step from what traditional dress casual is, with the fashion changes, particularly the leggings and the jeggings under, like a sweater dress top, or a blazer. So I think it's reflective. I don't anticipate a substantial change from what you see around the office. Well, not today, but prior to a few weeks ago, what you would see around the office. In any case, I think it reflects more to what we're seeing right now. But it is a move, a step further away from what business dress codes were when they went to dress casual. But I think it reflects really what's out there in the workplace right now and in other workplaces.
And then moving on to a different area of this, there was some language regarding things like jewelries, hair color, and tattoos. I know it identified like a natural hair color, so I assume that meant let's say if I wanted to dye my hair blonde and look like Hope, that's okay, but if I did it magenta or something like that, that's not okay. Is that the purpose of the?
Yeah, so the purpose is, so if somebody decides they want to change their hair color to like green or fuchsia or blue or purple, that's what we mean. So obviously if they want to color their hair, they certainly may, but we do allow the temporary stuff for Halloween, but that's it.
And then the same thing with tattoos, as long as it can be covered up and not be distracting, then it's considered professional and appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. And we're really not trying to infringe on people's right to freedom of speech or anything like that. It's more of, you know, a look our citizens still expect from staff when they come in. And having, you know, a bunch of piercings or tattoos on their face and hands, they're still just not, I think, ready for that. But wanting to make sure that if somebody has an inappropriate tattoo, that if somebody is offended by it, that we may have to ask them to cover that up. And it could be any number of things. And at this point, it's not been an issue. I don't anticipate it being an issue.
Okay, and that actually protects us if then we don't have to police what's appropriate and what's not. And
Correct.
okay.
I really don't want to be the fashion police, so.
Don't put me in charge of that. Any other questions regarding policy 6.08? Diane.
Thank you. So Hope, so the item 3, then jewelry, accessories, and tattoo policy, is that entire section a brand new section of the policy?
No, we've had that, that was approved, I think, the last time we did the policy, so 2014. So we've had that policy for a while.
So tattoos have already been part of the policy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it says no tattoo shall be visible from the neck and head or the wrist and hands.
Right. So basically, if they're on that, and as long as, if we have some people that had them, like maybe they tattooed a ring on their hand, then they
Right.
just, is this appropriate? And is that okay? We don't have a problem with it, because that's kind of the new thing that's going on.
Yeah.
So
And
they
that was
usually
what-
are just asking us.
And that was one of my main concerns, because I know some people who, because of the work environment, they work in factories and such, or heavy equipment.
Right.
So rather than wear a wedding ring, they will have it tattooed, and it's always been tasteful, and it's
Right.
something that.
And we
that was
wouldn't
my
have a
one-
problem with,
Okay.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
so we
did
wouldn't have a
see-
problem with that. And usually we would just take it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But sometimes it might be, you know, maybe they have some swear word or something on their knuckles, or, you know, who knows? So sometimes it might be like, that has to be covered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I just wanted to just kind of clarify that. I just wasn't sure. So if I may ask, what exactly got added then to section 3, the jewelry, accessories?
Just the accessories. We only added accessories to that because we felt like if people wanted to utilize like scarves or other types of things to like cover their face.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't want to prohibit that.
Okay. So you just added the word accessories, is that's all? Because I don't see anywhere else in
That's the
there.
only thing we did.
Okay, because I was looking for it and
Yep,
going,
that's it.
okay, thank you. Got it.
What did you do? Well, yeah. That's all we did.
Okay, thank you.
So I actually forgot, excuse me, do we have a motion on this? Or did we just
No.
dive into this?
No,
We
you
do not
guys
have a
actually had to
motion.
wake me up. Jesus.
Wake up, Jim.
No, with somebody like
When you
this,
sit
yeah.
next to me, Jim,
I
I
was
can.
dozing off here. Dealing with hundreds of women a week, I'm just, you know, this is interesting to me. I just smile.
Jim
But
was
you know,
coloring his hair purple right when he stepped away for a few minutes.
yeah, correct.
And if
Yeah.
we needed to know
Okay.
a guy that could get us a good deal on hair dyes, it'd be Jim. So
Yeah.
what do we want to do with this?
So I will make a motion to approve as presented the changes to the policy 6.08 employee attire.
Second.
All right, motion by Alder Wolf, second by Alder Olson to approve the changes to policy 6.08 regarding employee attire. I think we covered discussion, but does anybody else want to add anything? Eric.
Thank you. I guess I do have a question. I can see the conversation about unnatural hair color coming perhaps from years past when maybe it wasn't as a common occurrence, but maybe Jim can answer this question as he sees, lots of hair, but you are seeing, blues and greens and purples, highlights and things. My daughter did that. That lasted several weeks herself. Again, not a professional age, she's 10 almost. But I guess the question I pose to you is, do we really care if it's color, or do we care if it's color? Do we care if it's still done in a professional manner?
Good question.
Well, I've seen hair with an accent piece on 75-year-old women that looks great. It depends on if it's not obtrusive and not offensive. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
My hope is that I have hair long enough to color it when I'm that age.
Yeah.
But
My hope is that I have hair to color at that age.
yes.
Well, actually, it brings up a very good question, because let's say somebody has a highlight or they do have a stranger color. Does it really affect their ability to do the job? And how much priority are we putting on what might some of our residents think? I mean, is that, I don't know.
Well,
I have to draw the line somewhere, but if we wanted to have a little streak of purple for Alaska or something like that, is that really that bad? I mean, I understand the tattoos and I understand the jewelry and things like that, but could we be a little overbearing in this case with hair color? Oh, do you have any thoughts?
I don't see anybody around City Hall that would be that offended if somebody did that in good taste. I think if you came in and you were distracting people with what you were doing, that's a different story. But that's a tough call. But
So perhaps do we want to amend this to where maybe we can relax the hair color? I mean, Hope, this is more I don't have hair, so this doesn't affect me.
I struggle with it because there's going to be some people that maybe this looks great on, and then there's going to be some people that this looks terrible on, and it's not for me to decide that. But
it's a council policy decision, is what you're saying.
I know. And then you have to, when it starts fading out, it doesn't look very nice.
Well, maybe the interview process would take care of that, probably. Unless you want to redo I think we're making a lot out of nothing, to be honest with you. I don't think you need to worry about that. If you're hiring somebody that is distracting everybody else, we probably got the wrong person. There I go again. See.
It's really up to the council's wish. You guys let me know what you want to do.
I'm not really sure that we need the term unnatural hair color in there, because, I mean, what does unnatural mean? To me, it just seems like a little bit of an overreach. I mean, unnatural is artificial. And well, that's what a dye is, any color, whether it's brunette or blonde or red or, I mean, if I were to go and become a redhead, that would look unnatural on me. So it depends, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, I was thinking about going with a purple streak, but when I read this, I went, oh, maybe I can't. So it's like, am I going to get called into Hope's office that I can't have a purple streak in my hair? But once I found out that I was going to have to bleach my hair, I went, oh, I don't think I want to do that. So I've reconsidered that.
Yeah. All right. So this is a policy decision. I'm kind of wondering if maybe we put this on non-consent for next week and just let I really think the more we're talking about this, I don't know that we need to police hair color. And that's my view, but I'd like to see what the council thinks. But
as being the only female on council, I personally don't think we should be, I don't think I want to be setting policy for hair color, to be quite honest. I agree with Dan that maybe we can pass it as presented tonight and put it on non-consent and have the other two alders weigh in also next week. So, I mean, this may be a unsubstantial thing, might be a silly thing, but I think we need to talk about this a little bit more next week.
All right, so we're going to, are we amending this so that it'll go tonight? No, we'll just put it on non-consent if we approve this. Is that how this will work?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the changes to policy 6.08, employee attire, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is with the understanding that it'll be on non-consent next week.
Yep.
Moving on to item 13, closed session. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Specifically, IAFF, International Association of Firefighters Local 127, OPA, Onalaska Police Professional Association Memorandum of Understanding Recruits, and under sections 19.85, parent 1, parent G of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel or the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely, which it is or is likely to become involved. IAFF, International Association of Firefighters, Local 127, prohibited practice complaint regarding part-time EMTs. If any action is required in open session, as a result of the closed session, the committee will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and/or continue on with the printed agenda.
I move we go into closed session.
Second.
Motion to go into closed session by Diane, second by Jim. Roll call vote.
Jim, aye.
Diane, I.
Dan Stevens, aye. We are now in closed session.
If we could just pause it a minute to let those individuals that need to jump off a moment to jump off, and then I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay.